little more focus on building the character of this crew, as well as a little more insight into this cube that they have in this episode of Fena Pirate Princess. This is my thoughts on episode 4, so let's jump into it. So yeah, the first half of this episode is really kind of centered around the crew itself, as we have Fena is trying to figure out some way of being able to assist the crew. Her focus really turns to learning how to fight, how to defend herself, and how to contribute to the group itself, kind of following this whole situation with her and Yukimaru. And even though you have this spout between the two of them where he's like, don't do anything, just stay there. She's like, no, I'm going to help. So this kind of leads her to confronting Shitan and asking Shitan if he can train her in how to use a bow. And she's failing miserably. And even still, she's like, I really do want to help. Can you, I needed to learn something. So he's basically, it was almost like, it felt like he was trying to find somebody to help her. And then it almost turned into like, I think he's just trying to find some way of making fun of everybody. And then it almost turned into this aspect that his actions technically trigger others to join in. It's almost like that aspect of creating that desire for everybody to want to, be the next one in line to help out. But it was cute to have this little scene between Shitan and Fena where essentially he's explaining why he took up the bow. At some point he doesn't say it. We know who he's talking about. He's talking about how he always wanted to, he didn't want to be one up by Yukimaru, so he was always the first one to charge into battle. And after having his life saved several times, he decided that he would instead, basically return the favor of saving his life by saving Yukimaru's life from the background, from the back lines with his bow. And again, this is that moment where Finna's like, I want to do the same thing. I want to learn how to protect others. So yeah, that's when he starts training her in the sword. And then eventually somebody sees this and they want to come in. I think it was Makabe was training her in hand-to-hand combat, which was doing terrible. One of the two, Kaede, I believe, Kaede or Inju, one of the two of them was training her in using a staff. And then eventually Karen even joins in with her gun. I forgot to mention earlier before this, when we had this whole segment where he's basically going around teasing people, he suggests a gun. And so they go to Karen's place and she's like, heck no, there's a lot to go with this. And then she starts talking about this new gun that she has and they just walk away. I always feel bad with Karen because they always kind of leave her in spoken word, and Karen's great. So yeah, even Karen gets involved and starts to show her how to use a gun, and she fires it off too early and bumps her in the nose. But yeah, it was a kind of a little cute scene where everybody's kind of taking turns each morning, teaching her something in combat. All the while, Yukimaru's kind of off to the side. It kind of shows some point in which he actually leaves some food for her, so it kind of shows that little care that he has as well. But yeah, they finally arrive at this village that they've been seeking out, where, again, in the prior episode, we learned that this little cube was crafted at. And when they arrive there, the glassmakers there are like, we don't know. That doesn't look like anything. It looks like it was made here, but we don't make it. And then at some point, some lady ends up showing up and she says, I know where that was made. Come follow me. And so they follow her to this Burgermeister who's up on the top of this hill. And it was kind of cute because during this entire time, we're getting this impression that this very beautiful lady seems to have some kind of interest in Yukimaru. I wasn't sure. It kind of implied early on that she was doing it because she knew that Fena liked him. But yeah, she definitely had some kind of attraction to Yukimaru, even though it seemed like prior to this, they were kind of implying this idea that Yukimaru doesn't really have any kind of aspects to him that's appealing to women, whereas the comparison at the time was to Shitan, who was very relaxed around women, so that kind of made his appeal and why women like him. But yeah, they finally get to this Burgermeister. The lady herself decided to kind of, in seeing how Yukimaru had this blade, and she was asking him how he owned it, he said that he himself did it, so she basically used his sharpening her grandfather's blade as kind of a trade to him helping them learn more about this cube. And sure enough, he looks into the books, and they come to find out it's listing each one of these cubes when they're crafted. Before they leave, they hit a number impression on it. So he looks up into this kind of log to find out when that was and who signed for it. And he come to find out that it wasn't originated from there, even though it was marked by that location. But it had a listing for La Pucelle de Orins. And everybody's freaking out about that because that's Jeanne d'Arc. But he's like, that's not the shocking thing. Hold on. we're all freaking out that it's Jeanne d'Arc. He's like, no, we have tons of people. I think he was mentioning Da Vinci and stuff. All these different very famous people across the world have all gotten things from here. So it's not a shock to him. What was a shock to him was that the date that was listed on there was 1436. And as they point out, Yukimaru points out, she was burned at the stake in 1931 or 1431. So how can she order something 5 years after she was burned at the stake? That's the big question mark. And this kind of question mark continues as later on when they get back on the boat and they go to leave, which was funny because I think that when they first arrived there, somebody was saying, "Hey, if we stay the night here, she's probably willing to go all the way with you, Yukimaru." And he's like, "Go where?" But yeah, then when they go to leave, she's like, "You guys can stay the night if you like," and everybody's freaking out. Like, no, he's like, "No, we have to keep moving." But as they leave, they get on the boat, and as they're going away, Yukimaru and Fena are talking, and Fena says that, I don't recall, but I remember hearing La Pusette before. I'm not sure if it was that I heard somebody say it or that I said it myself. And that's when we get a cut. We get a cut over to our friend Abel, who is still... It seems like Cody shows up at some point and tells Abel that they have just departed. So it seems like Abel and Cody are just observing them. We kind of noted last episode that it seems like this Yukihisa, who is lead of the Goblin soldiers, is apparently giving him information, but it also seems like Abel himself is just watching. It doesn't seem like he's actually... Like, if they knew that they departed, why didn't they go in there? They knew where they departed from, they could have invaded. So it almost implies right now that they're just watching. Maybe this scene where they can find out information about this cube, and if they'll find it, and they'll unlock it. But yeah, Abel's in this room, and he's got this big painting, and he's clawing all over it passionately, and it's a painting of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, which I at this point, it's like, okay, well, are they implying that Fena is Joanna Arc? Are they implying that she's related to her? Because she doesn't have the painting does have the same pennant that Fena is wearing, but the painting has blonde hair, has the same eye color, and he's clawing all over it and saying Le Puciel. So I'm not sure exactly what they're implying there at the moment. Like I said, it could just be that she is Jeanne d'Arc, or she is Le Puciel, or that she's related in some way, and that's why they're following her around. I would probably more venture to guess it's probably related to. I don't know if they're gonna get that crazy supernatural with it. I mean, technically, you have a floating Japanese island and teleporting goblin knights, but so they can always go in weird, crazy directions. They also did have the episode opened up with Fena having a dream, and there's like a bunch of petals, and she's standing cornerways. It was kind of weird how she was standing, and this voice says, "Maiden of purest white, which wilt thou choose, blue water or storm clouds?" I'm curious if that means like chaos or the calming. Like, do you want chaos or not chaos, or if it's implying seawater, blue waters, or storm clouds, as in maybe land. You can have storm clouds in the ocean too, so I guess that's not really a land versus sea thing. It's probably more leaning towards chaos or order, or the depths or the heights, maybe. But yeah, overall an insightful episode. Like I said, kind of continuing this aspect of this cube itself. I do like how they're slowly unraveling this thing, rather than it just be the introduction to this cube and that they need to find information about it, and then you never hear about it until maybe like the final episodes where it reveals and they unlock something and there's the ending. It seems like they're slowly piecemealing it to us, which is great. But at the same time, just that same fantastic character interactions that are kind of, I think the driving force for me mostly in this series so far is just the really great characters that I just want to hang out with. I want to see them just be goofy. Just them going to Tsubaki and saying, "Oh, Shaitan says that you're the worst swordsman here, so you'd be the best person to teach me how to do swords." And it's like, oh, that's great. And then he finally dawns on him. Yeah, and also seeing a girl that actually likes Yukimaru for once is always great. I was a little sad. He had this little moment where Fena and Karen, it almost seemed like she was, trying to bond with her, and she's like, "You're not my friend," or something like that. I'm like, you guys are technically like clonk on the head buddies before, and now suddenly you don't want to be friends. We've already established that you both have this connection between the two of you. Why can that not be a thing? I love Karen. Anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 4 of Fena Pirate Princess. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon if you can. And y'all take care.